Is that thing on? Let's see.
So this is how it feels to be a popular rock star.
It is how it feels to be a badass entrepreneur, dude.
I like that. Yeah.
How do you feel?
Can everyone hear me?
Does that work?
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on? Yeah, very good. So, we have sore hands. How do you feel?
I feel really good.
Yeah?
I feel it's a lot of things moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's good. Very good. Now we're going to talk about that. So before we dig into it, this is going to be a crowdsourced type of interview. So I have some structured questions right here. We're going to talk about that to get in the mood of things. About halfway, we're going to make sure to take questions from you all. The way we do that is that behind the camera, right there. Let's see. Can you see the screen? No. So Slido.com. Let me see if I can figure that out for you right here. So for most people, so you use your smartphone, expecting that everybody has a smartphone, of course. And you go in on Slido.com. Okay? And you use the event code Magnus Rocks. That do right there. Very simple. There you can pose questions. You'll see all the questions being fed right there on the screen, but also on your phone. And if you see questions you like, you should upvote them. The question with the most upvotes, we ask first. We dig into it, we talk about it, and this way we're kind of all contributing to the interview and deciding which questions that we're going to take in what order, right? So that'll be a lovely, lovely thing together. All right, very cool. So let's get into it. Let's make sure everybody clear on that. The Slido thing is okay? Logical? Very good. Bueno. So, Magnus, Mölndal, Handels, and then this fourth largest web page, or most visited traffic in the world. Let's just super quickly run through that massive story. Just figure out how that happened.
The one with the website.
Yeah, so just start from your background until that point in life, so everybody gets a sense of your background in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of entrepreneurs probably have the same experience. I'm sort of a failure when it comes to the education part of it. I went to Handels, the business school of economics here in Gothenburg, but I probably didn't take that much of the classes. We were involved in a lot of other things, and the student union thing was something I really put some energy into. So I was responsible for the connection with the companies, and we did a lot of different projects. But the thing with this website was actually that there were the third largest event in the world called, the World Championship in Athletics was going to be held in Gothenburg in '95, and we said, me and a colleague to me, Eric Lindblom, we said we have to do something cool about this. And we had been down to Barcelona for the Olympics, and we were there as tourists. And we actually went and walked around and couldn't really figure out getting any good answers to anything. So we said, let's do something really cool. Let's create a really ambitious project that we have over 1,000 students walking around like ambassadors on the streets. And to sort of set the standard or the goal right, we said they have to be able to answer any questions, whatever it could be, okay? So we had to sort of figure out a way, we were not technology guys at all, so we had to figure out a way to how they could actually be able to answer all questions. So we, together with Telia, which was one of the sponsors to this, it was a non-profit project, we figured out, okay, they can have a mobile, and then they can call somewhere, and we had to build up sort of information central, where we had a big database. And of course we didn't know anything about databases, so we went to the Chalmers, and we met a couple of really talented students up there, and said, we want to build this database, how you do it, and we want to fill it with a lot of data, a lot of tourist information, and also the data, the event information from the event. And so they were actually the ones telling us, okay, if you're not building this up, we had involved 30, 40 people from the journalist part of the university, writing things, all the data. So they said, if you want to do this, why don't you add on a graphical interface, which is called World Wide Web? And we said, we had never heard about that, but it sounds great, you know? And then when we started to understand the power of this was in the end of 93, beginning of 94, then we, of course, started to scale this up, because then we started to understand that this could be really big. So from being a sort of a limited database in terms of tourism information, we created the biggest tourism database on the entire internet. And it turned out that during the days in August 1995, we were actually hitting the place on number 4th most visited website on the net. So that was really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So that's a
big round of applause for that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
And that was the beginning of the first sort of commercial venture we did, the consultancy company called Innovative,
right,
which then turned out to be Mind, and then we IPO'd in the beginning of 2000. But the cool thing with that was actually that there were, because this was a non-profit project, we sold the database to Telia, because Telia started a company called Telia Infomedia, and they want to be kings in terms of content. They started to understand, what the internet could be, and they want to take a position there. Anyway, so we got some funding for the project itself, based on that when we sold that as well. But then Volvo and SKF came and called us up.
Right.
Because we were supposed to go back and finish the school.
School, right? Yeah.
And they called us up and said, "Hey guys, you seem to know a little bit about the internet, so can you help us out?" So that's the best way to start a business,
Absolutely, paying customers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the study stuff got a hit though.
Yeah, I'm still saying that I have a background from Handels.
That's awesome.
I'm waiting for the time when they're actually trying to. How do you say it in English? Syna korten.
Yeah, exactly. Call it, right?
Yeah, call.
Yeah. I think Handels is have a background of having you with them. I think that's pretty cool. So take us from there to Trade Doubler, because here's one thing that I noticed when when we first met, right? I already knew the Trade Doubler bits and pieces of the nugget. I think at the time it was extremely notable with Trade Doubler. It was a huge deal, right? It was a massive exit, but also a very good business in an ever expanding opportunity, right? But then I noticed when I was talking with especially the younger members of the startup community, Trade who, right? Oh, that's the dude behind hotels, right? Which is cool, but I think it would be interesting to talk a little bit about what was Trade Doubler. What was the fundamental business model of it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing was actually we started the consultancy firm Innovative in '96,
right.
And then I mean it was such a hype,
mm-hmm.
The .com era,
yeah.
And there were more famous firms like Framfab and Icon Media Lab and so forth. They were very early to IPO their companies, and we wanted to grow the business as well. But at a certain point in time, in '99, we had grown the business to almost 500 consultants, and we had to do that in such a short time frame. We had to add venture capital as well, and the venture capital could be really great, but it could also be a dilemma. And in this case, dilemma was that they really pushed us to do the IPO,
right.
to get an exit, and they pushed us to grow. And in a certain point in time in '99, I felt like I'm really fed up of the consultancy business in terms of that you're providing something, you're building great stuff, but you're never able to sort of see and live with that after that. And also the whole business model of consultancy, the consultancy business is that you're going to help you out. You're buying a number of hours from me because I'm going to help you, but in a way I'm trying to find a way that you have to buy more hours.
Right.
So it's a little bit weird way of doing it, and in the sense of greater good. So I started to actually think I want to get out of the consultancy business. I want to go into something new. First of all, I want to go back into entrepreneurship, but I want to build platforms. I want to build platforms that really can make, a great, first of all, to have a revenue model where we can sit here and have a good chat and we can hear the tick, tick, tick in the background, I love the recurrent revenue business models. And so that was sort of my fundamental. I wanted to go in, and of course I have been working with tourism, so we saw that was a big opportunity building a new. Nowadays you would call it a SaaS, software as a service, the cloud-based service. At that time, nobody had that definition, but we built an enterprise software in the cloud, and which was totally new. This was in the beginning of 2000. So I jumped off.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And this is the Visit.
This is the Visit group I started in '99.
Which you've been active with until. I mean, you're still active in it.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm still the CEO and the main shareholder. So I wanted to grow that organically. But the thing is that at that time in '99, I met the two founders of TradeDoubler, Felix and Martin Dorisson, who now probably most of people know.
From Spotify. Yeah.
And they came in, and we sit down. We were supposed to sit down in a sort of, with some beers, and they're going to pitch me with their business idea, and I'm going to pitch them with my business idea, and just let's just be creative here. And I just loved the business idea they had, and they presented TradeDoubler, which is it's a platform for building up an affiliate marketing network. And that was really in the early days. So, and I think it's kind of interesting because you would define that as an ad tech platform, and today affiliate network or affiliate marketing is just one part of the puzzle when you put it together
for digital marketing, right? But that was the underlying technology for it, though, right? TradeDoubler, how you drive the clicks and the revenues through, from the banner at the time. Yes. All the way down to the revenue stream.
And taking care of all the payment flows within that. So we were very early there. So we built TradeDoubler. So that workshop ended up in me investing in them, actually. Right. So I was the seed financer in TradeDoubler. And then TradeDoubler really took off. And we became the #1 affiliate network in Europe. We were #1 in every single market except Germany, which we were second place. And it was a great business model as well, because you got prepaid from the advertisers, and then of course depending on the what happened in the network, you then had to pay after. So we had a really good cash flow in that business as well. So that was a great way of looking at it. And Visit Technology Group or Visit Group is a sort of an enterprise e-commerce platform for the travel industry. Right. And we get paid by each single booking.
Right.
So I just love that. Yeah. So as we're speaking now, there's
just the transactions going on, right? Yeah, and I mean, given the fact that you really have one foot in each tranche, right? An operator and an investor, and we're going to make sure to have plenty of room for the questions. So you all pose those questions in the meanwhile. I really want to try to make it a little bit, educational today on the, educate, inspire, and connect part, right? So if we take a couple of those bits and nuggets, one of them is you have these two companies that you kind of went in with at the same time. One of them was Visit Technology Group, right? And one of them was TradeDoubler, right? And one of them was very much ultimately the VC case. Yeah? And one of them is organic growth, and you're actually still today, 16 years later? No, but 10, whatever, a lot of years later, right? Still involved, deeply. So could you talk a little bit about those two different paths, routes that an entrepreneur could take? And then maybe we can, kind of figure out where, why, what fits, and how,
Yeah, it's a very good question, because I sort of... a lot of business I've been involved in during the years has been very VC financed. Like TradeDoubler, we had the Source Equity Partners, which was one of the biggest ones in Europe. Very good, well-known brand in terms of venture capital. And in this case, it became a success, So everyone was happy, and we IPO'd the company and so forth. But I also seen the dilemmas having venture capital, driving a really. Sometimes it takes a lot of time to get the right market fit, and sometimes it's not the right way to go forward to try to push something. It has to take some additional time. And if you take in the venture capital too early in the process, you can it could be negative compared to what you really wanted to expand the business instead, So sometimes I would say I would define a lot of the big names today, the ones we always hear about being the traditional venture capital firms. I would not call them risk capitalists like we call them in Swedish.
Right.
I would call them expansion capitalists, because what they really want you to have, you have got your product market fit, you have revenue, you have the metrics in place. So it's about scaling. That's all it is about.
Right.
If you haven't done that homework, or you feel that now you can really leverage it, and with the additional money, then you will have a very bad experience with the venture capital perspective. And I would say that when I created Visit Group, first of all, I had the possibility to actually be the one financing it myself.
Right, to bankroll it, right?
And I didn't want someone to sit there and point at me what to do or not what to do. And we really didn't know exactly the product market fit at that time either. So it took some years to really find the sweet spot for us. And so I had the possibility to do that by myself. I know that there's a lot of entrepreneurs who doesn't have that money, or so have to go and try to find some sort of funding. But try to understand what time you should approach the angel investment or investors compared to the venture capital firms.
So if you running say relatively young startup, early on, let's say a scenario they have product market fit. Now, how would you assess the VCs for you? How would you assess if they're a good fit? If you had a meeting with them to help some with entrepreneurs.
I mean, we did one of the really interesting ventures I'm involved in, putting quite some time into actually now, is Naked, which is a new online fashion initiative. Jarno, who founded Nelly.com back in the days, he founded Naked a year ago, and I'm the lead investor in that, and also the chairman. And I'm really putting some lot of hours into that. And why I'm referring back to that, based on your question, is that we made the approach that we went to some really wealthy individuals to finance the first step. And then now, when we have sort of proven the market fit, and we have really a lot of metrics, now we can approach the venture capital, the big names, because we have been around now. Jarno and I have been around. We have met with all the big names: Sequoia, Accel, Greylock, all the big names in the valley, and everyone is really impressed about what we have experienced or what we have done with Naked within such a short time frame. And we're probably going to close the books this year. Only been operating for 12 months. With a turnover of 160 million Swedish kronor, which is great, and then with a really cool marketing mix. I would say that maybe we're coming back to that. But if we're talking about affiliate marketing being the new big thing in the beginning of the 2000s, I would say social influencer marketing is the biggest thing nowadays, and that's really Naked is all about that. But what I'm trying to come back and say is that when we met with all the big players, what we actually take with us back home is, besides all the cool buzzwords, because we have a lot of new cool buzzwords after being in the valley now. We also understand that they are all about metrics, all about metrics. And I just love, what's the name of the company in here, Magnify or something?
Magnus.
I I mean, I love them. What they have on the screens is the KPIs and their
metrics board, right?
Yeah, metrics board. And I really understand the business from the sort of bottom up. And what I was amazed of is that the quality today of the real, really good venture capitalists is their depth of knowledge. They are digging down into the small pieces of metrics to really understand the business. And then they expect you to know that. They expect you to follow up that on day-to-day basis. And you have to understand your retention, customer retention component, and how to have it. So it's really about, you have a really well-educated, I mean, a lot of these people have been doing the business themselves.
Right.
So that's basically, I would say that start early with the metrics, and really, even though there's not that much to look at for,
Right, but
you
still
have
start
to
getting
understand the metrics.
Yeah. I got a note that we need to get your mic a little bit closer to the mouth.
Yeah.
How about now?
It's good.
Everybody? Still good? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, now we go. All right, very good.
So back to your question, I would say that if I was a startup company today, and I'm still having some, I don't have the metrics with me, but I know what to measure. I would probably go. There's a lot of good things happening in the ecosystem today that we didn't have 10 years ago.
Right.
Back, we have. I must say, I see Almis doing a great job. We have incubators doing a great job. We have Chalmers Ventures. We have different kind of sort of arenas that is really supporting the startup community in such a good way compared to 10 years ago. So I would say there's a lot of good options here, how to try to find a good way of financing the first steps in the development. And then once you have really good traction, then you maybe have the time is right to go for the traditional venture capitalists.
And is there a way for you to kind of give an example, like make it tangible, like what does that mean, the traction word that we all read and hear, right? How does it? Because you've been there, you know the feeling between traction and not traction.
I think we have to be aware that it's not such an easy. I think first of all we have to understand what kind of business you're running. So Truecaller, probably everyone will know about that.
Yeah.
Of course, their definition of traction was not revenue. I mean, there were a number of users, and now they have done a great job of actually proven that they can turn those numbers into real revenue.
Right.
But when they approached the VC community, they had, of course, they knew everything about the traction in terms of user growth and what kind of. If you spend this amount of money, you're going to get these numbers in terms of new users. And then we have a way of looking at how we're going to turn later on in the process those users to revenue. Yeah. If you are an e-com company like Naked, for instance, we are designing clothes and we sell clothes. And then, of course, one of the metrics is, of course, the turnover. I mean, if we would have a great strategy in terms of how to get followers on Instagram or whatever, but we didn't see any conversion into real business, that would not be a definition of a good traction.
For you, exactly.
In terms of...
exactly. All right.
It depends on what kind of business you're running.
Yeah, so let's fade into that. So, I mean, 160 million kroners in a year, that's an amazing traction point in terms of revenue, right? You have made a reputation about that influencer marketing has been very successful and very predetermined. This was your idea and strategy within Team with Almo. Can we talk a little bit about that? Let's educate a little bit. How does that work, right? Because nowadays, I mean, let's flip it. In a couple of conversations I had, it does feel like, Facebook ads and Google ads, those, the best words are getting bought by people with money. So if you are a startup, you want to build traction and push through, you have to find innovative ways. So let's try to figure that out. How does that work?
First of all, I think one of the cool things when I met Jarno in the beginning of this process, and he started to just sort of make the picture of what we want to do, he said, okay, because we knew that e-commerce is all about, I mean, the marketing component is a really central component, and a lot of e-commerce companies fail in terms of marketing. That it costs more to actually get a customer than what they get from the customer. And
Right.
I would say that that's one of the core dilemmas for a lot of e-com companies.
So negative CAC LTV ratio.
Yeah, exactly. It takes the cost of the acquisition cost of a customer is too high, and that's because the digital marketing, is a really costly thing if you look at it from a SEM or search engine marketing perspective, and Google is really the player there, you know. So. And I love when he said, one of my first questions was, okay, so how's the marketing strategy? And he said, we should not spend any money on traditional media.
Mm.
Okay, what do you define as traditional media? Google. He said.
Right.
I just love that. so Google is traditional media. I mean, talking about, how fast this market is moving. So that's when we started to talk about the social influencer strategy, and I think a lot of you in the audience probably have heard about Daniel Wellington.
Yep.
Probably everyone, yeah. And he, I mean, he's just great. I mean, the brand is a great success, of course, and everyone knows it's about, he has been really pushing this social influencer concept all the way. And I think that from a Naked's perspective, we have of course tapped into the same strategy in one way. I mean, we have grown from 0 followers to almost 600,000 direct followers for the Naked brand name within, as said, 12 months.
Over what channels?
So what's the cool thing with this is that I think that if you want to go in and really push and be determined that you want to have some impact of your social media strategy, you have to understand that you cannot just do it little by little. You have to, in our way of looking at it, we put 4 people dedicated just to do the first initial thing, which is actually going into the, identifying. We have today a database of 90,000 social influencers within fashion.
Right.
We know everything about them. We know everything about their followers in terms of what they like, what kind of, styles and everything. And then we have a really cool concept of how we approach them and how we start to do some collaboration with the ones. And we're doing it in a very industrial manner, It's not like we are sitting down and feeling that could be cool or that could be cool. It's all about numbers, all about metrics back to what I said before. So really a cool way of, industrialize that process. And that's one of the success factors, I would say, we have really sort of cracked the code of how to make the social media into business. There's a lot of companies out there doing a lot of great stuff with social media, but they don't see the conversion.
Exactly, right? So you have a model to drive conversion through social media that is stronger than average Joe in the streets.
But it's all about, we have created a technology that is screening we are measuring the trend analysis on each of them. We put some manual labor to do, to identify all the soft components of each of these social influencers. So there's a lot of work, of course, a lot of investments into this. But I would say that that's the reason why we have seen it's not that easy to copy, to be quite honest.
Right, because then you have momentum in it. So does that also give other benefits, right? So does it, for example, differentiate you in terms of more traditional metrics like revenue, or do you sort of price and promo codes, or can you sell at a premium you feel because of the social influence and that kind of thing?
First of all, I think one of the some people's, one of the first questions is, okay, how do you compare yourself to Zalando? Because Zalando is a great success case today. Maybe 3 years ago, people would say, they're burning a lot of money.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But they're really figure out how to now turn into profit as well. And
Right.
they have a great growth rate. So they, of course, are really good. But you have to understand there's a big difference between Naked and Zalando, because Zalando is what we call a multi-brand store, which means that they are selling over, I don't know how many brands they have today. They're representing, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe 20,000 brands.
Right.
That's really matter, but a lot of brands. Naked is what we call the private label. We design our clothes ourselves.
Right.
So the only external brands we have is just a few that sort of verifies our fashion
Level.
which means that we have a better margin to play with, you know,
Yeah, of course.
compared if we would have sold someone else's brand.
Certainly.
And that gives us the possibility and an opportunity to be more creative in terms of what we do with the social media and how we interact with them and so forth. I think Zalando will be still in 10 years a great company, but they will always face a very sort of fundamental problem.
And squeezed by both sides.
Yeah. So what we see right now is that Adidas or Nike or all them, they are still very dependent on the retail part of the value chain. But of course, down the road, they will find their way to get
More and more direct.
Yeah, and own the customer. And I can't see that direction will go any other way than they will, you know, start to increase their share of the direct market.
Yeah, that's
And that will of course is a big threat to Zalando. So
yeah, that's a big insight actually, right?
Yeah.
That's how it's going to look 5 to 10 years from now.
exactly, and that's the reason why Zalando is doing what they're doing as well. Because if you look at what they've done last 2 years, is that they're investing a lot to become, going from being a traditional e-commerce player, they're becoming a platform player. So now they have a platform that they're inviting Adidas and Nike to actually run their own stores on their platform.
Right.
Because they are experts in logistics, in online, in terms of digital marketing and so forth.
So instead of Nike building that themselves and paying a bunch of money, they can outsource that to them. That's super interesting. Very, very good. Let's see if we can grab a couple of questions as well before, you know, time goes too fast. So let's see if we got something here. All right. Here we go. Yes, it's a bunch. Herr Rolén, where are you at?
Here.
Oh, well, there you go. Perfect. You want to pose your question, buddy?
Yeah, sure.
Highest votes.
Okay, so are you currently looking to invest in new projects that you're not involved in? And in that case, what kinds of projects are you interested in to start investing?
I would say yes and no to that question, because I will not go into any new ventures that is not directly have any relationship with any of the existing ones I'm involved in right now. So if you were running, let's say you have a great algorithm in doing online search in travel, much better than anyone else, I would be very interested to sit down with you.
Let's say I help your nightclubs to get a better understanding of your business.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
That is not a hypothetical question, by the way. Nor is it a euphemism. It is exactly what he said that it is. Just to be clear. You guys should talk, by the way. Very, very good. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Or you want a 5-minute pitch right now? No, stop. So, all right, very good. Here you go. Where you at, buddy? Let's throw the mic.
Hey Brian, what's the surefire way of losing your interest in a startup pitch?
Sorry, say again?
What's the surefire way of losing your interest when pitching you?
So somebody's pitching you and you just zone out in 2 seconds. What did they do wrong?
I mean, of course, I've seen a lot of good pitches, and I've seen a lot of not that good. And I would say that if you can't explain the business within the first minute, then you have, at least you have a communication problem. That would, So I think still, you know, even though I think it's a sort of a buzzword in itself, you know, the elevated pitch, but there is something beauty with that, with the definition of it, because you have to sort of be able to really package what you're going to do in a very simple way. And I've seen a lot of great technology failing in doing that, and still it's a great technology, but they if they can't manage to do that package in the pitch, they will probably also have a very big problem selling the technology to potential customers as well.
Very nice.
And the second thing actually I've been aware of lately is that if there is it's a little bit based on my own experience as well. I mean, I was when I started Visit Group, you know, I did it by myself, and I would say that if there's a single entrepreneur coming up pitching and saying I'm the one behind this, I would say it's a less strong case compared to if you were 2 or 3 people as a team. Because I know that it's really hard to do it by yourself.
Do you really need multiple founders for that though? Or wouldn't you say that being a sole founder, but being instrumental in being able to tie great people around you, couldn't that be just as valuable?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So that's also good, if you have done that and you come up and you do the pitch with you together with some two other persons in the management team, and you feel that this is a great team, then you have proven yourself in the leadership as well. So that's something positive.
Very interesting. So gut feeling kind of thing though, on that specific point, do you think an early stage startup with, you know, an idea more or less than a pitch, because that's what we're talking about, if it's, you know, at that early stage, is it possible that a single founder and a management team can stick together in the tough times, if not everybody is an equity shareholder and a co-founder? One doesn't maybe have to exclude the other though. What do you think about that?
I mean, we've seen all examples of this. I mean, when it works and when it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason why also some of the ones that has the money and the time of the when we're coming back to the venture capital firms right now, they're becoming much more professional in the way they identify and evaluate the founders and the management team. They're doing personality tests. They are, I would say, in their due diligence, they maybe put 90% in the dialogue with the founders and top management, and 10% in terms of financial and legal.
So they're actually internalizing like recruitment processes,
Yeah.
like personality and Myers-Briggs and that type of stuff?
Yeah, I'm right now involved in one of those processes where the venture capital firm has sent a typical recruitment personality psychology firm doing a full scope analysis of all the top people in the management team.
That is extremely interesting. Yeah. Have not heard that. You guys, have you picked that up? That happens a lot? Super cool.
I know some incubators are actually doing it now in the US. So in order to be accepted in the incubator, you have to do the team has to do a personality.
So yeah. So literally, you know, 20 years ago, all the top talent students were going to top consultancy firms, and they were doing all these stuff, right? And now none of them are at those events. They're all here, right? Doing startup stuff.
We're the best guys here now.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, actually. Yeah. Very, very big shift in society. Let's pick another one. Victor, there you go.
All right, so my question is kind of from the opposite perspective, I guess. It's when you have found a business that you want to invest in, how do you convince the founders to let you on as an investor? Because it seems many businesses are scared to lose control of their business and so on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. I think I had a discussion previous today, is that there is a follow mentality with within the investor community, meaning that if some startup gets some momentum and there is a good traction within the, within the community, there's a sort of a follower mentality. And then, of course, if you're one of those, you have to pitch yourself to be one of the investors to the entrepreneur or the entrepreneurial team. And I would say, from my perspective, I mean, just looking at it, I think I've been an entrepreneur myself. I know how, I know all the steps we have to go through, and I think that's compared to if you would have been sitting and talking to a traditional banker, being an investor. They haven't been doing those dog years, if you know what I mean. And understanding the complexity of creating a startup, especially when it comes to the tech startup, because the tech community is such a competitive space. I mean, we are not talking about competitors on a national level. You are probably providing a service or technology that is from day one will have a global competition, and it's moving really fast. So if you are approaching an investor, you also have to understand that you have to ask them, okay, what kind of experience do you have in that field? Because I think that really, if you don't have the experience from that, you also have it's going to be hard for you to be a good support to the entrepreneur during the whole sort of growth phase or developing the company. So from my point, I think that I have a good background. I have been there myself. And I'm not the guy who goes in and try to. I've seen all that stuff as well. There's some, they are really innovative in terms of the term sheets. If I want to invite someone who's going to invest in my company, and that part comes back with a term sheet with a preference share structure that is really complex, and there's a ratchet structure, and there's a drag along, tag along that is really not to your favor. Oof. I've seen all different types there. So I'm trying to make the shareholding has to be sort of on an equal level. Even though I'm providing the money, and of course I want to have some sort of security, but still, I'm investing into people. So sometime down the road, I have to believe that you're the guy who's going to make that. I can have really hard terms in the term sheet, but still, end of the day, you have to build a company.
Very nice. Excellent. Let's grab one more. Morgan.
Yeah, obviously you're a very successful guy. So I was asking, my question was that, you learn, to some extent you learn from success, but you learn even more from failures. So what is your biggest setback so far, and what did you learn from it?
I mean, I have from an investment perspective, I've done a lot of weird investments as well.
Pick one.
I've been into China. China is a really complex country. I was totally naive. I was looking at it like everyone was looking at it. Yeah, if we get 0.0001 promille or percent of the Chinese market, we're going to make a great business, I just want to say, I think it's important to be very close to the business. But you have to find a really good balance. It depends a little bit on the entrepreneurs as well. Being close to a business doesn't mean that you have to call the entrepreneur every single day, because some phases of the development of developing a company take some time. But you have to be close to, so you have to understand the challenges of the company, and you have to have a good dialogue with the entrepreneur or the entrepreneur of the management team. And you can't do that if you're far away. And my biggest problem with China, there were a lot of big problems, but if I just look back on it, and I think the main problem I had was I was too far away from it. I didn't understand the culture, and it just didn't work. So that's one thing I have really learned from the hard way, sort of. And then the second thing is that I think it's sometimes it doesn't work with the relationship with the entrepreneur, and maybe sometimes it's better to back off. Just say, okay, it didn't work. Let's we can just go in two different directions. And sometimes I think that you become a little bit too emotional to some of the investments. You're hanging on a little bit too long. And I've been better doing that. I've actually tried to be very, very straight with the entrepreneur, saying that this doesn't work, and this is the reason why. And either we try to find a good platform to collaborate on, or we should just move into break it from this point and onward, and not try to be too emotional.
Right. On the note of this being close to investments, if we flip it the other way around, so right now, for example, you said you and Jan was courted by and courting VCs in Silicon Valley. That is literally 9 time zones away, right? So to get more than just money for running a business, at least here for now, is hard with the time zone thing. What's your take on that? I mean, can you get a successful investment strategy from Silicon Valley if you're a Swedish company in real life? Because I think it is very romantic for a lot of people, but there is also a boatload of money right here in Europe. I don't think that's where the problem is, right? But we all think it's really cool with Silicon Valley money. So could you talk a little bit about your take on that?
I mean, our strategy right now is that we understand that it takes. We have to build a relationship with those big players, and we have to do it already today.
Right.
Even though we know that is the chance to get them on board at this point in time is probably very small, especially if we talk about the big names. So that maybe the biggest objective of us putting such a lot of time we have done in the valley of approaching them is because of building relationship for further down the road.
Further growth.
Okay. So our strategy is to find, if we talk about venture capital, we are finding what we want to, the dream scenario for us, right, would be to find a really strong player that has its, it's a European player, and then maybe have a syndication with American one. So the European one will take the lead, and then you have a foothold into the US already at this point in time. Because we know that the US market will be one of the big important markets for us. I mean, we have the ambition for Naked is great. I mean, we want to create a new Sarah, but being online.
Pure digital.
Yeah, pure digital. For the millennials, we are targeting women between 18 and 30 years old. I mean, it's a really tough audience. They have sort of a attention span of 8 seconds, I think it is. You have to really,
holy crap!
Yeah. So it's a tough target, and we believe that we have found a good.
Crack the code.
Yeah, crack the code there. Yeah.
Oh, you see it in the numbers. It kind of seems like it. Yeah, very cool to hear about the despair part as well. So let's come back in a little bit to Gothenburg. So you've been in this ecosystem. You've seen its various phases. What's your take on the Gothenburg startup or the scene and tech scene today?
I'm very positive. Just a couple of years ago, everything was about Stockholm. And in Stockholm, when we were in Stockholm, everyone was talking about London or, of course, the Valley, and then Berlin started to sort of be the runner-up. But now Stockholm has become one of those hubs in Europe, and I think that we started to see some elements in Gothenburg to get some good speed as well. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I mean, first of all, I think we have a lot of great people here in Gothenburg, but a lot of them actually a couple of years ago moved to Stockholm because they thought that's the only way to really get our startup going.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think that we have seen now, it's a combination of all things. I mentioned previously, there's a combination. To make this ecosystem work, you have to have all the different players within it. You have to have a certain mix or a certain minimum amount of people that are, rich individuals that are willing to, invest money into new startups. The typical angel investors. You have to have arenas like incubators. You have to have, Almi being sort of a governmental structure supporting with startup loans and stuff like that. So there's sort of it's weird because you have to have sort of, you first have to get some things going, and then after a certain, I don't think you can't really pinpoint and when is the tipping point, but at a certain time frame, people start to talk about, we have a great startup scene here in Gothenburg. Right. And I would say that's a big difference today just compared to 2 years ago.
Right.
I feel that.
Yeah.
And I can't really put the finger on what has happened, but I can see that there's a lot of elements that is in place right now.
I can absolutely identify with the 2-year story. That's when I moved back home here. I was literally on the train to Stockholm, right? But then I found, this place and Chalmers and then G Labs and so I get that part. I have to put a anecdotal thing in right here, which is so cool, I think, in the story, because right here today, for the first time, we got one dude, right? Where are you at, Love? There you are, right? So we got a Stockholm dude right there who moved to Gothenburg to run his startup at Stena Center, right? So because of the incubator in this town, which is cool. So it's actually happening stuff. It's the first time that I've seen it. But before, like 10 years ago, right? Is this a cyclical thing, or is it like a traction curve?
No, I would say it's a traction curve.
Yeah, that's very good. That's promising for us that haven't seen it maybe 10 years ago, right? Because you see the difference.
But I also think it's what you mentioned yourself before. There is, of course, it's all the great people from the university or Chalmers. The best students would say that my career will be within McKinsey or Accenture or Ernst & Young corporate finance or whatever it could be called. If that would be sort of the top aim for them, then of course that would be negative for the startup scene. But what we've seen today is that actually you get the best people is they want to achieve the goals of doing a startup themselves.
Totally right. They know much more how to write an awesome business model canvas than to do CV, right? A resume, which is kind of fascinating. And so maybe I can tap into your thing there, Kloppe, as well, right? So this thing right here that we're running as well. So this is evolving too because the community is evolving. So I'd love to hear your take on it and also you guys' take on it because so we've had this for what, about 2.5 years. We've run events relatively regularly. It's been always filled every single time, right? It gets sold out. We have fun. People like it. We were ranked top 20 in the startup grind world of successful chapters. There's like, how many chapters was there now?
200.
200, right? So it's pretty badass. Right here in Gothenburg, right? And so for next year, we will convert this in one way or another to a business. Because I think it's important. Kloppe thinks it's important. The team thinks it's important. So if you guys want to participate in that, now would be the time to talk with Kloppe today, because next year Startup Grind will, start moving into a more professional space and, have a chat with that dude over there on it. And then segueing back to you, Magnus. So, like, write this and what can the startup community and Startup Grind do for you? Is there anything you need, right? Or from the angel investor side of things, what can the community contribute with, right?
Keep on creating great ideas into great companies. And then there will be, we're going to be there, We'll have some.
Did you see that? Did you all see him throwing around cash? Apparently that's how it looks, right?
Or the drum.
Oh, that was a drum? Oh, shit. I thought that was like Visa card, MasterCard.
I I think one other part of that, because it's kind of sometimes it becomes a little bit too focused on money. You know, I mean, I'm not into. To be quite honest, of course it's easy to say, but you know, I think very successful entrepreneurs are very. If you ask them what's really driving them, it's not about money. So I think it's about creating new great companies, and I think a lot of, you know, if you look at the angel investor community today, there's a lot of people there that has, you know, they are still entrepreneurs, or they have been great entrepreneurs, but they now want to. They are not looking for primarily, you know, get 10 times, even though it would be great to get 10 times return on investment. They are also, you know, the main objective is to create great companies. I would say that.
And add value, right?
And add
Real
value.
value, yeah.
And you can see that on a lot of the tech profiles that have done great exits lately. I mean, most of them are coming back, investing their exit money into new companies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really cool ecosystem that is being built here that we have seen in the States for 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
But now it's happening here in Sweden as well.
Yeah, and in Gothenburg. Very cool. So the next and last question for the evening before we all get to have a beer, or two. Next most upvoted is by Anonymous. Anybody want to claim that? Anybody want to claim the next question? Okay, I grab it. You got it? You want to take it? Wonderful. Here's the mic behind you. Wonderful. Wonderful. Please introduce your name as well.
Hi, I'm Patricia. I wonder what is the most difficult ethical issue you have faced as an entrepreneur?
I mean, it's kind of an interesting story itself. The reason why the reason why I'm into hotels is actually based on a failure, because it started out by a friend of mine. He's a great businessman, and he's into, you know, providing safety locks, so safety. What's it called? You know, yeah, and
Security boxes, safes.
yeah, and big ones for the banks.
Okay, right.
Kassavalv.
Yeah.
Really traditional. And I was into IT and the tech, and you know, we were been traveling around, he and I, around Europe. I was planning to build up a reseller network for Visit Group, and he was doing the same with his company as well. And during those trips, we've been spending a lot of time in restaurants. So we said, you know, why? Shit, we have to do. Well, you know, you have your bucket list somewhere, you know, and I don't know if it's a guy thing or something like that, you know, the main thing. But you know, on most bucket lists being a male, there's a sometime you want to own a restaurant. I don't know why. So we said to ourselves, okay, yeah, we need to own. We saw ourselves, you know, be owning this small Italian, you know, and we saw ourselves sitting with our families every single Sunday, you know, with a big, you know, family.
You're all becoming Italian suddenly.
Yeah.
This is not the kebab restaurant. It's Italian restaurant.
It's Italian. We saw the Italian restaurant. So we said, okay, yeah, but we don't have time to do that. So we had to find someone who actually knows how to run a restaurant. And a long story short, we got in contact with this guy, and he was a really, you know, he sold us beautiful pictures. It turned out to be not a small Italian restaurant. It became the #1 nightclub here on the avenue at that time, which was called Boulevard.
Yeah.
And suddenly we were a nightclub owner, you know, and that was not what we wanted. And the weird thing was that, you know, it was a great success in terms of number of people. You know, we even were, you know, had to have a pointer, you know, and it was still showing red figures, you know, all the time. It was always the burn rate was enormous, And my friend and I, we didn't have time to go in and really look into the business because we were running in Europe trying to find new resellers, you know.
Yeah.
But we had to pay every single month for the burning hope.
Like everybody else going to nightclubs.
Yeah.
Basically.
So it felt like we were actually providing free drinks for half Göteborg. But we couldn't pinpoint the reason why. And then now comes to your question. It turned out that guy, he was probably not doing business in the right way. So at that point, you can take different kind of actions. One action would be to say, hey, you're doing this, and maybe even go to the police, say you've done some weird stuff. We want to have an investigation on this, and of course you have to give us the shares and so forth. But at that time we said, okay, so it was a problem, from an ethical perspective. Should we try to go that path, or should we just say, okay, there has been something wrong in this one, and apparently he's doing wrong things. So we just had to go out of it. So we made a fire sale. So we lost a lot of money on that. But we said, let's find a good owner to this. So we found Emilsson, the one also, Jonas, which is a great guy. And so he bought it. But and we said to ourselves, okay, should we proceed now to try to get back some of the money? But we said to ourselves, it's just going to be such a long fight, and it's going to be probably going to be really dirty. So no, we just leave it from that. So I said to myself, I will never go into restaurant business anymore. I've done that, part of my bucket list. But now comes the beauty with this, is because there were two other guys that is really good business people that has been within the hotel and the restaurant business. They found a great hotel in the southern part of Sweden called Saltsjöbaden, and they had the possibility to buy that. And they said, who can we actually convince to put in money into this, and who's going to take that decision?
But that can't be the guy who just said he's out of restaurants.
Yeah,
right?
but I didn't know that I said that.
Okay.
So they actually came to me and presented the case, and now in that sense, because we had to go through all the figures, now we knew what are the right metrics to look at within that business, because if you're running a hotel, the food and beverage part is a really big part of it. So I couldn't really, from my perspective, to see that they are really looking at this from a very professional way. So that was my due diligence in that sense, and I actually jumped on that, and that has been a great investment in that sense, and also really fun investment, because there are, now we own 6-7 hotels and a lot of restaurants and so forth, and it's going really good. And we have created 600 new jobs since we started that.
No, that's awesome. Do you get to go and have dinner with the family in an Italian environment?
Yeah, I have that part. Really? I can choose French, Italian.
That's awesome. Bucket list done. Well, look, you have a lot of businesses. You invest. You operationally engaged. You clearly are ridiculously busy. As I found out when we were trying to hook up for our pre-interview, which was an awesome exercise. I loved it. You have a family.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and you're still investing not only your money, but also your time into the community. I think that's amazing. It's wonderful. It's exactly the type of stuff that builds communities. So I want to thank you so much for doing that, for doing this evening. I want to have a big round of applause for badass Magnus.